everyone's highlights look good. That's why they're called highlights. But just like on social media and just like in sports, the missed shots, the bad plays are often left out of the highlight reel. But just because they're left out of the highlight reel, that doesn't mean they didn't happen. So the first thing you must remember is that everything isn't what it seems. Everything isn't what it seems. They say don't judge a book by the cover. Why? Because the cover doesn't always tell the full story. What people post on Instagram is not the full picture. Not the full rundown of what's really going on. It's just the highlights. You have to remember that. You can't compare your real life to social media. It's like comparing your real game in sports to someone's highlight reel. Highlight reel won't have any missed shots. That doesn't mean they didn't miss any shots. So stop comparing your real life to social media. Social media is just social media. It's just a highlight reel. Don't get lost in the sauce. If you're enjoying this video thus far, like, comment, subscribe, share, send this to someone who you know needs to hear it. Number 2, comparison is the thief of joy. That's the second reason why you don't need to compare your real life to social media. First thing is that everything isn't what it seems. The second thing is that comparison is the thief of joy. How can I appreciate what I have if I'm constantly in comparison with what the next person has? You must realize everyone has their own background. Everyone has their own experiences. Everyone has their own trials and tribulations. And what's for you is for you. So the competition is not external. The competition is internal. You should be comparing yourself today with who you were yesterday. And striving to be better today than you were yesterday. Striving to be better tomorrow than you are today. That's a win. Because like J. Cole said in his song, Love Yours, there will always be somebody with more this, more that, bigger car, bigger house, more followers, more likes on the picture, more whatever, fame, whatever, more money, more degrees, more education, more whatever it is, more clothes, more whatever. But at the end of the day, you can be appreciative and fulfilled once you stop comparing yourself and just have an attitude of gratitude. Which brings me to point number 3, is having an attitude of gratitude. Stop looking at what's missing in your life and start appreciating what already is there. It's like if I had a bottle of water somewhere. You can either look at the glass half full, or you can look at the bottle half full or half empty. It's perception. The person who's looking at it half empty is focusing on what's missing. The person who's looking at it as half full is focusing on what's there. They're both looking at the same water bottle. So sometimes we can focus on what's missing in our life and then see someone who has that on social media and begin to feel bad. But instead of focusing on what's missing, focus on what you do have. Focus on the blessings that are in your life. Because just as things could be better, things could also be worse. There was an analogy that was where a man was in a Honda, and to his left was somebody in a Rolls Royce or a more fancier car, quote unquote, more luxury, quote unquote, expensive car. And he felt that he was less than. He felt bad because, like, man, I wish I had that Rolls Royce. I'm in this Honda. But what he didn't see was the person on his right who was on a bike that wished he had a car. They wish they had a car. And then what that person on the bike doesn't see is that there's a person at the bus stop who's wishing they had a bike. There's a person standing up at the bus stop wishing they had a bike. But that person standing up is like, man, I wish I had that bike. But then that person standing up To their right is somebody in a wheelchair who wishes they had the ability to stand. So remember to count your blessings and remember that things can always be worse. So have an attitude of gratitude. Number 4, think of your ancestors, your grandparents, and people who came before you who didn't have social media. They were still able to live a fulfilling life. And I say that to say that you don't need social media. You don't need to post everything. You don't need to be so active and attentive on what's going on in other people's lives on social media. Focus on you and yours. Focus on what you have going on. It's not necessary to be on social media to enjoy your life. A lot of times people can have fear of missing out. But think of your ancestors. Think of your grandparents who didn't grow up with social media. And they tell you stories about their childhood, tell you stories about how they enjoyed their life. So clearly, they didn't miss out. And they didn't have these smartphones. So they didn't know that there was a party going on over there. They didn't know on the other side of the city or somewhere 2 hours away there was a big party and a big carnival and they weren't aware of that. They didn't attend and they were just as happy. So don't feel like you're missing out because you're not at every event that's posted on Instagram or on social media. It's okay. All right, so to summarize the video, stop comparing your real life to social media because everything isn't as it seems. Somebody can be in a relationship, they posting their relationship on Instagram as if everything is well. We don't know. They may have gotten in an argument. They may not be on good terms after that or before that, but they don't post about that. Number 2, comparison is the thief of joy. And the competition is internal, not external. So you should be comparing yourself today to who you were yesterday. Compare yourself to your old self. And compare yourself to your fullest potential and strive for that. The version of yourself who has worked on healing their mind, body, and spirit, who's worked on their habits, who's worked on their mindset. That's what's important. Number 3, having an attitude of gratitude, focusing on what is there, not what's missing. Being grateful for what you have, looking at the bottle half full, not half empty. Number 4, thinking about your ancestors or your grandparents or people who didn't grow up with social media, who still lived a fulfilling life, who still had fun, who still enjoyed themselves, who didn't have that fear of missing out, and still had a good time. So that 4th point just shows that you don't need to be super active on social media. You don't need to be in the mix. You don't need to keep up with everything that's going on social media. And you can still have a fun, rewarding, fulfilling life. If you enjoyed this video in any way, in any shape, in any fashion, like, comment, subscribe. Send this to someone who you know needs to hear it. If you received any benefit from the video, check out my channel for more. I am Big Game Chain. You know the name, the most authentic in the game. Check out my channel for more.